It's the end of July and this time of year has been so enjoyable. All the effort of making a bigger garden, starting plants from seeds, planting and maintaining is just starting to pay off with some of the plants finally being ready to harvest. It's been so different maintaining this big of a garden. We've learned so much and we really want to take you through what it actually looks like to care for this big of a garden because it may look a little different than you think. Living this type of lifestyle is such a different experience than anything we've ever done before, and I'm so grateful that we decided to do it because it truly has shifted so much of our perspective around where food comes from and the time, energy, and effort that it takes to have a good harvest and to care for livestock and our animals and these different things that we're now doing on our homestead. So I hope you enjoy this video and I hope it is so helpful. Hello guys, welcome back to another video. It's getting to that time where we are almost ready for a mid-summer harvest in the garden today, and it is going to rain for the next few days, and I've let my potatoes sit in the ground for the last week after they had been ready, and I could have harvested them, but because I'm storing them, I wanted to toughen up the skin on the outside. So that is what I've done, but it is going to rain for the next few days and potatoes can rot really easily. So we are going to get to it even though I wasn't planning on it. In the next few days, we're going to harvest some more in the garden and then be preserving. And I'm just going to really show you guys what that actually looks like. So let's get into this before it starts downpouring. So these potatoes are ready to go and they have been ready for a little while. There are still a few green ones down here at the end, but really the majority of this row, especially these ones down here, have been dead for a little while. And I really want to get them out of the ground now because I've already left them in there and it has been a little rainy. The soil is pretty dry, but it is going to rain pretty heavily for the next like 3 days, and we don't want them to rot. So I'm hoping we get a good harvest. This is one of the first bigger harvests. This is one of the first bigger harvest of the year. Harvest, the biggest harvest. It is it's time to harvest the potatoes. So we're gonna harvest them, and yeah, let's do it. Imagine we didn't get any potatoes at all. Well, if you pull up their roots, I wonder if some will just come off the root. Oh my god! It's our first potato! That is so cool. I cannot believe that. These are kind of small potatoes, but I am still really happy with it, and I'm hoping we got some bigger ones. But leaving them in the ground after your plant has willowed away will not make the potato any bigger, just so you know. So we are gonna hope and pray we have some bigger ones. Oh, I got one. I poked it. Oh, that was a good poke. That's a decent sized one though. Right now we are averaging about anywhere from 2 to 4 per plant. I know you're supposed to get like 5 to 10 per plant, and so Obviously I can tell that they didn't do as good as I hoped. It's usually for a reason, and that is something that we can figure out and just do better next year so that we get a bunch of potatoes, because the whole goal with potatoes is to grow them so that they last all year round. We eat so many potatoes, and it's definitely a staple crop for you to have to be self-sufficient. Okay, we just finished getting all of the potatoes up out of the ground. At least I hope that's all of them. And what I'm kind of learning is we didn't get as many potatoes as I thought we were gonna get. And what I am realizing is we had put manure in the garden when it wasn't fully aged. And what I'm realizing is that that could be a cause for too much nitrogen. Now the plants, the potato plants, were huge. I'm talking like up over my garden beds. And from growing up on a potato farm and seeing all the farmers around us, their potato plants are usually decently small, meaning it's focusing on doing all of the work underground and giving you a bunch of tubers that make potatoes. So what I'm learning is we probably are going to do a soil test and have it be sent out so that we can know for sure. Also putting manure on earlier. That was a mistake that I knew I made a little early on. And yeah, we'll see how the other 2 rows go, but it really is just all a learning curve for me. I'm so thankful for the harvest that we are getting, but there's still so much to learn and so much to take the feedback, take notes, and then just do better each and every year moving forward. And sometime in the future, I would love a huge garden like this just for potatoes, because we eat so many potatoes, and if you want to be self-sufficient, this is one of the #1 staple crops that I could tell you to grow if you were looking to store them for the winter. But I am excited because we are going to be able to eat all of these probably fresh. I don't know if we'll get any for the winter, which is kind of a disappointment, but you live and you learn, and hopefully the next 2 rows we may have some. We're definitely going to have potatoes for a while. I mean, this isn't a small amount of potatoes, but it's definitely not huge either. I was thinking that we were going to get double, if not triple this, but it is what it is. You are keeping them over the winter. You want to let them sit out flat on a like cool, dark place where they can cure, and that's going to be 7 to 14 days. You will really learn from your mistakes, so make sure that you don't let it discourage you, and you be grateful for what you get, because this is still a success and I'm really happy. And I love gardening so much. I love it. I have so much fun out here, and there's bats out and the sun's going down. So we got these out of the ground. The rest are gonna be mounded up, and I'll let them go for another few weeks, and those came up later, so we will let those be for the next little while, and in the next few days we're gonna harvest more. Good morning. It has been 2 days of cloudiness and raininess, but it is finally sunny, and today we're going to be harvesting more of whatever's ready, but we're also going to be tending to the garden, and we've extended our garden to 26 foot by 26 foot, and it is a massive garden. There is definitely a lot to take care of, and I'm going to show you guys what all of that actually looks like. So we're gonna see what we can find to harvest today, and we're gonna take care of everything that's needing some love. I have not tended to the garden for the past week, We had gone away and went camping, and then I came back and harvested a few things, but we really haven't given it a lot of love since before we left. So today it really needs some attention, and everything is growing so big and beautiful, and I'm really excited to show you guys, but it definitely needs some care. So let's get into it. Okay, so first thing is first, we're gonna start with our tomatoes. Now, last time I checked, we had green tomatoes that were starting to grow everywhere, but none of them were ripe. So I will be shocked if we find any ripe tomatoes today. We are gonna take our tomato clips and we are just basically going to trellis everything that needs to be trellised. Now, I did this like a week and a half ago, and when I left it, it was pristine, but my tomatoes are growing incredible. They are already reaching the top of the trellises this year, and I can barely walk between them. So we are just going to basically put everything on the trellis and neaten it up and get any leaves off the bottoms of the plants that need to come off, because we don't want any tomatoes growing on the ground, and that has been one of the best things that I've done so far. So we are gonna start with that, and we'll see if we find any ripe tomatoes today. I don't think we will, but you never know. Really what it looks like to care for these tomatoes on a trellis is just making sure that you are weaving them in and out. Now, you want to be really gentle at this stage and make sure that you're weaving them in a way where it still gives a lot of it room to still grow upwards and be supported by the trellis. So really, you just are weaving them in and out of here. So lines and leaves like this, where it is basically near the ground and is basically already broken, we just wanna go ahead and snip this off. We just wanna avoid our tomatoes on the ground and it causing any issues for the actual plant. So that we'll throw out. For a plant like this, that already has tomatoes on it, and we don't just want to rip it up, and you can tell that it's grown so much that we haven't been trellising in a hot second. So what we're going to do is we're going to weave this through an open spot on the trellis. So we just put it through there. We're now going to put it through here, and we're going to make sure that it has a lot of room, and we want to be really gentle with this. And then we're going to continue to bob and weave here, and then there you go. And what we're going to do for just extra support is we're going to take this clip right here, and we're going to put it around the plant. If you can find a V shape right here and link that around with the actual trellis part of metal, this will help it stay really well. And now this whole branch is going to be supported, but I will potentially put 2 on here just because it has grown quite a bit. And then same with this one right here. This one is now growing out like this, and we want to make sure that we're putting it inside the trellis so that as it grows tomatoes, it's gonna be able to support the weight of those heavy tomatoes. So caring for these tomato plants is relatively pretty simple, and if you can keep up with it in your garden, it will be much easier. So if you can come out here every few days and make sure it's climbing up the trellis and things aren't growing outward too much, that's awesome. Also, if you are gone for a few days or you forgot about it, then you can also just use your handy dandy tomato clips and weave them back through, and then add a little bit of support with your tomato clips. How I prune my tomatoes is by just making sure that everything stays off the ground, or if there's any straggling vines that come out that are not carrying any tomatoes, I will cut them off if they're in the way or they're growing too much, because we really want the plant to focus on the tomatoes. We don't want too much overgrowth from the leaves, especially near the bottom. So that is how I prune mine. You can prune the suckers if you want. I have so many tomato plants that it just probably would be way too much for me to do that to every plant. So this is kind of the easy and efficient way that I have found. It works really well for me, and this is something that I highly recommend if you have a ton of tomato plants. Also, if you have tomatoes that are not able to reach the trellis that are near the bottom, you can just clip them to the main stem for more support. Come here. Look, I found something. We have ripened tomatoes. These are our first two. These are the only two that I can see. Third one is kind of ripening up. I bet this one is ripe enough to pick. We have to try it. Our tomatoes are finally back up to being trellised. You can really walk through now for the most part, and it's great. But we need to harvest some of our dill and our basil because it is overgrowing, and some of the dill has started bolting, and so we want to get this out of the garden, as well as harvesting some basil, and then you can make some yummy pesto from it. Okay, so you never want to pick more than 2/3 or even 1/3 of the plant so it can grow back. And you don't really want to cut the main stem, you want to cut the ones that are off of it. Some of my dill has bolted, and this is going to create seeds, but this really just happens, it sprouts really quickly and bolts from the really warm weather. You can still use this, but I really think it's more or less for seeds. I have seen people use it in their dill pickles as well. I think it just has a different taste. This is my 3rd or 4th harvest of dill. Now, this is how much dill we just harvested, which is so much dill. I'm gonna make dips and pickles with this, and so I'm really excited for that. And a lot of it is so tall and falling over that I wanted to harvest a lot of it and keep it fresh. Now we are gonna move on to some basil. You, again, pick in a certain way, it grows back even bushier and better and gives you more and more basil. So this is really, really good for pesto. We could add it to some tomato sauces. We just got a ton of basil, but now we are going to be walking down to the green beans. All of our other beans here, our black beans and kidney beans, are not going to be ready for a little while. They're still flowering, some of them here, versus green beans that grow pretty quickly and you can harvest continuously as well. These don't really require much maintenance. They grow so well and are so delicious. So we're gonna be making fresh green beans. They grow like crazy. So really, we are just going to be taking our tomato clips and clipping some of these to the cattle panel because some of them just need a little bit of help. Others do really good on their own. They're not really prone to much disease that I know of, so they usually do a pretty good job. We just got a ton of green beans mixed with the ones we have in the house. We're definitely gonna be able to can these up. We're pretty much good to just leave them, and then we come back in another week or so and we'll have another really big harvest. This part of the garden I really maintained very well at the beginning, but as time has went on, it's just grown so rapidly that it's been harder and harder to maintain, but it's still giving us so many harvests and really has done its job. So the trellis really did work out well because cucumbers will usually grow all over the ground. Same with the squash we have over here. And it really did a nice job at climbing up. Even though it's still like messy, it is still doing what it needs to do. So I, at this point, am gonna weave in and out a little bit if I see something that can be, but mostly at this point, I'm just gonna focus on getting all of the cucumbers and the squash and the slicing cucumbers that it's gonna give me. And I can already see a ton of cucumbers. They're overripe, but
Wow.
The thing with cucumbers is they keep on giving, and I'm not mad about it. You can see these little babies right here. These are all for pickling. This vine has grown so much, I'm just gonna literally come in here and loop it a little bit because there's not really much else I can do for it. The cucumbers are definitely taking over this basket. And at this point, I'm officially sweating. But we also have slicer cucumbers as well. We're gonna take some of these. I bet these are definitely getting crazy in here also. So many cucumbers, but I don't mind because I can make so much stuff with cucumbers. And I love to grow them. They're so easy to grow. So this right here is stuff that you are gonna have to maintenance in your garden, especially when it comes to these viney plants like cucumbers. And you really want to be helping them climb up the trellis. If you need tomato clips, I would highly recommend even for squash or cucumbers like this because they are so viney and they will grow everywhere. And so obviously keeping them off the ground. At the beginning of the year, I did do a lot of the trellising and stuff. I think that's the most important part, is to teach them how to climb it, because after they learn how to climb it, a lot of the time they do it by themselves, or at least the majority will do it by themselves. That one still's got all the spikes. This section is definitely like a little crazier than others, but let's definitely talk about what it looks like to maintain your squash plants, because it's not just trellising that you have to worry about. So I definitely recommend getting gloves for this part because I have dealt with squash beetles like crazy this year and have really struggled with that. And what they can do is they come to feed and lay their babies on your plants. And when they do this, they will release a venom or a toxin that goes into the stem and stops it from being able to receive water. And so if you can, walk through this section of your garden kind of often, at least a few times a week if you can, if not daily. What we want to do at this point, because it's so overgrown, I have noticed that they usually lay their babies near the tops of the leaves, and that's where I find them most of the time. So here's what we do. So if you come out here in the mornings or the evenings, this will be a little easier because they're more like mellow. But what we want to do is we want to start flipping all of the leaves to the underside to be able to see, and then you're going to be able to see little red dots for where they're laying their babies, and you got to get those things out of there because these animals can easily, bang, right here, these animals can easily cause an infestation in your plants and in your squash plants specifically and kill them. And this is what it looks like. So what I personally do is I rip off the leaf completely and I just get it right out of the garden. This is definitely something that is going to take a lot of time. Another thing that you can do though is take neem oil, is what they call it, and spray it on your leaves because they don't like the smell of it. They're repelled by it. That's a natural repellent that you can use. And this is really just one of those time-consuming parts. I've done a pretty good job at making sure that they stay off the plants for the most part, but at this point it's so overgrown that I'm not fully able to do it in the way that I would like to. And obviously there's so many leaves that it's hard to cover all the ground. But if you can look near the top and just kind of go around everything. Oh, there's one. Look, it's probably about to lay its babies. And we are just going to crush that and kill it and remove it from the garden. You can see that it's laying its babies right now as we speak, which is crazy to see it in action like this. But we are going to kill this thing and its babies, as mean as that sounds. Look how big this squash plant is. You see this? It's huge. But we don't have any squash to harvest just yet. They're just starting to come in, which is exciting. So we're just gonna look through all of this and then we're gonna move on. Okay, now as you know, we've already harvested some potatoes. I do have to mound these potatoes, so I am gonna be doing that. Mounding is really important. Make sure you do that for your potatoes. But as far as everything else goes, these are the onions. Have not touched them since I planted them. The only thing I do is like slightly weed in the raised garden bed. For the most part, this is so low maintenance. And if you take a look, it's starting to smell like onion heavily, but if you take a look, all the bulbs are starting to really grow in, and I'm really, really excited because some of them are starting to look huge. So this is really easy maintenance. I highly recommend growing onions in your garden, and I am really excited. I don't know if any of these are going to be ready to harvest yet, but we have some baby peppers growing in, and again, these are really easy. Look how beautiful these look. Just a little bit longer and those will be ready to go. I am so proud of these. These are little babies over here. Oh, cute. These are also looking really good. These are like the sweet variety right here. I don't think they're ready yet. I think they have to change colors and stuff. But everything is flowering and growing in really well. Again, I haven't barely touched this. Usually the only thing I'm doing is watering them, but it's been really rainy, so I haven't had to do that yet. And then over here is our carrots, and these are looking phenomenal. These are looking so good. But the one thing with carrots and maintenance is you really, really need to be thinning them to get a large size carrot. I thinned them when they were a lot smaller, and now they're bigger, so they could use another thinning. You really want to keep them like an inch or so apart. And if we look at them, honestly, they're doing pretty good, but some of them could obviously be pulled. And you can see the little baby carrots. And I know it feels like you're wasting carrots, but you will not get a big carrot if you aren't thinning them. I know a lot of people have a hard time growing carrots and actually getting a good size carrot, but this is the way to do it. Rather than you getting a bunch of tiny baby carrots, you are gonna get a super big carrot harvest from thinning them. So I highly recommend. Take a look at the space in between them. And if you see two like this that are like very bunched together, you just want to pull one of them out. And that's really all there is to it. And you just want to do this down your whole row. Just allow them to have more space to grow underground. They're not fighting for space, and they're really able to grow to a decent sized carrot. One thing about gardening is you really have to be willing to commit some time and energy into not just growing these things, but learning them. Because anybody could grow something, but can you grow it really well is the question. Can you get a really plentiful harvest? Do you understand what the plant needs? And then any mistakes that you make, you just have to be willing to learn from them and just really take notes and do better next time. And that's really the whole thing that we've been doing this year. This is just a really huge part about gardening, that you have to be okay to learn. And I did a lot of research on a lot of the things I planted, and of course taking feedback and gonna do things a little different next year too, but I am really happy with the way that things are coming out this year. I'm gonna make my handy dandy special tool behind the camera here mound up some potatoes.
Oh, well, the more we do this, the less rocks there will be, right?
Actually looks like we have a few strawberries that the chickens did not get to. Oh wow! We are gonna pick some strawberries. These are probably so delicious. And all of already so many. We just finished harvesting everything that we can from the garden. We got lots of dill, lots of basil, cucumbers, pickling ones, slicer ones. We got berries, a few strawberries, and in the next few weeks we're gonna get even more. We have just a few ripe tomatoes. We probably just spent a good 2 hours in the garden maintaining everything, making sure everything's trellised, going through our squash leaves, mounding the potatoes, thinning the carrots, and picking and harvesting everything that we needed to. So just know that this can be quite a bit of work, but it is so worth it because it's so fruitful and so much fun to grow your own food like this. So if you like this video, if it was helpful, make sure to give us a like, a subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.